Philippines is a place with few mothers. Dave explains why.
And if you know what's popping in the Philippines, you know that they got a whole generation of kids in the Philippines growing up without their mothers. Yes. A lot of women in the Philippines go to the Arabian Peninsula, they come to the United States, they make all their money here, they send all that money back home, which is still one of the #1 staples in the Philippines economy, money that their expats send back to the Philippines. The men, on the other hand, are left rearing children, twiddling their thumbs, waiting on their wives' checks. These men have been fucking emasculated. And then suddenly, a boxer rises from amongst them and reinstates their manhood with his motherfucking fist. This is not the guy you're supposed to ask, what do you think of homosexuals?
The Philippines.
Man, y'all already know how I feel about Dave Chappelle. That man right there is the GOAT. And I think he's the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes. But in this particular video, it was very interesting to me how his explanation of how Filipino men became emasculated in reference to the fact that they were left to rear children based off the fact that most OFWs are likely women and they send the money home. Now, there are very few people who talk about this, honestly. And then, as you guys know, he goes into a Manny Pacquiao reference and reference to how this man single-handedly, reestablished the manhood of Filipino men, with his motherfucking fist. Manny Pacquiao is the god, in the Philippines. And anybody who's ever been there, you guys know that. But, it's not often that you hear foreigners talk about, what Filipino guys have gone through to end up where they are right now, right? And everything he said was spot the fuck on. Let's keep it real. OFWs to provide opportunities for the family, earn money, send the money back. Most of the time, that's women. So what are the guys left in the Philippines to do? Sit there and take care of the kids, pretty much. Or, get drunk or, gamble, whatever. You're just left at home because in all actuality, there's very little work for Filipino guys in the country. Unless you're a mason, you're good with your hands, you're good with building. And there are quite a few of them that are good at that. So those jobs are few and far between. Not everybody can get that work. You're kind of left with very few things to do. Get with a woman that has dreams and ambition and let that woman work so that y'all can have money. Seems to be the general mentality of some people in the country. And you see it all the time, right? When you ask where a mother is or something like that, sometimes it could be something as simple as, coming from the province, moving into a city area like a Davao or a Manila or Angeles City or whatever. You got the baby, and if, the baby's daddy, if they're still together living in the province while you're in the city making money. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a skill or whatever, you're good with domestic work or you're a nurse or whatever it may be, now you get to go, or at least your opportunities are brighter or a little bit better for you to be able to leave the country. And it's maddening, but it's also realistic as fuck. Like, this shit is real. This ain't nothing to play with. And this is a perspective that I've looked at it from before, and we've talked about it before on the channel, but it wasn't in depth or in detail to this particular extent. You'd like to talk about in a past video in reference to Filipinos' expectations of foreigners versus Philippines' expectations of their own guys, the local guys. You start to see there's two different expectations, right? They come from probably a background where sometimes they're the one that's always working, making the money, taking care of the guy and stuff like that. So they do carry some of those good traits in reference to how they take care of men, foreigner or not, but also they know that foreigners have money too. So sometimes some of these ladies just want to be housewives, right? They just want to sit at home because they're so used to going out and being the ones working all the time to help take care of their men. And I have to say that if their mindset is anything like men across the world, that's got to be fucking emasculating. It's just the truth. If their mindset is anything like any other guy in the world, if you are born and bred not necessarily to be alpha, but to be a provider of sorts, it's got to be emasculating to some guys. Not me, because if my girl won't take care of me, I'm good with that. But all things on a real note, I wouldn't feel emasculated, but I would have to find a way to create my own money, even if my girl was taking care of us. But that's another story for another day. But you know, the fact that you're waiting on your wife's money or waiting for your wife to give you money and stuff, you know, that's got to be emasculating to some. Some guys probably genuinely don't give a fuck. So for him to bring it up in this particular comedy special, man, Dave Chappelle, that's my man's right there, man. That man can't do no wrong. He can never do any wrong in my eyes, right? But if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys want to add to it, man, comment section below, let me know, man. It's been a good time, man. Y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed, man. Doc is out. Peace. But before I call it quits, ladies and gentlemen, I have to add this, and then I promise you I'll leave it alone. This may be a bit controversial, but let's go ahead and get to it. If these men are left to raise their children, it does amaze me to the extent of how many kids growing up, even with their fathers in the picture in the Philippines, are still coming up. If you know, then you know. I don't want to get to the details of it, but if you've been to the Philippines, you will know and you will recognize what it is that I'm talking about. Even if these fathers are raising these kids, and likely it's not so much the fathers that are raising them, although they're left to rear children, I would say that I've seen them being left with their mothers and cousins and aunties and grandmothers. They're the ones that are usually raising the kids. Right? The fathers are there, but are they really in the picture to an extent? That's always a question. But for those that are raised by their fathers, it's amazing how many of those kids come up, you know, sensitive and shit. If you know, then you know. But, you know, it is what it is. It's always an interesting concept, man. That's usually a concept that's saved for, you know, people who grow up without fathers, you know, and being raised by, you know, the females of the family and stuff like that. So, the more you know, ladies and gentlemen. If you know, then you know, man. Hey, Doc is out. Peace.